So the hearing for the Oregon Rental Home Heat Pump Program will begin in a few minutes. In a moment, we will introduce staff from the Oregon Department of Energy, and I'd ask participants to introduce themselves in the chat and state whether they wish to offer comments during the hearing. For those joining, we don't have anybody on the phone, I don't believe. Not yet. Maybe we do, I'm not sure. If you are joining my phone, I'll ask for you to be unmuted, introduce yourselves, and whether you want to offer comments during the hearing. We'll also offer the opportunity for attendees to ask clarifying and procedural questions after taking testimony today. So my name is James Cogle from the Oregon Department of Energy. I will be the hearing officer for today's proceedings. We want to thank you all for participating today. As staff introduce themselves, could participants please introduce themselves in the chat? Please state your name, any affiliated organization, and whether you wish to offer comments later in the hearing. So I will start with Andrew, if you'd like to unmute yourself and introduce yourself.
Of course. Andrew Johnson here. I am an analyst working with the heat pump team, mostly working on the rental heat pump program. And yeah, so I guess I'll kick it over to Brenda.
Hi, my name's Brenda Hunt. I am a rental heat pump program assistant and help a little bit in solar as well. So nice to see everyone.
Kayla?
Hi, I'm Kayla Barboza, and I am a program analyst on both heat pump programs.
Patricia?
I'm Patricia Phillips. I program specialist and I work across the programs and I'm attempting to help with the heat pump program.
And Christy?
Hi, I'm Christy Split. I'm our government relations coordinator, but I also come to hang out on all things heat pumps related. And then I'm also going to be helping James with any sort of comments or chat issues, although we've got a small crew today, so I think things should be pretty chill. Thanks.
Thank you. And if we could just have attendees pop in the chat if they're able to, whether they wish to introduce themselves. Let's see. It might be that it is the audio. Patricia, if you're able to unmute Jeremy, I'd like to give him an opportunity to introduce himself and whether he wished to provide comments later in the meeting. Jeremy, you should be unmuted now.
Yeah, hi, how are you?
Very good, thank you.
I don't have any comments right now, although might possibly later, so I'll put those in the chat, I suppose, if something comes up.
I can check back in with you later on after I've gone through the initial proposed changes to the rules and the hearing procedures, just to make sure that you don't have any additional comments at that point.
Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you very much. So I will start with a brief summary of the proposed rule amendments before discussing the procedures for the hearing and then entering the testimony stage of the hearing. Materials for today's hearing, including draft rules, are located on the Oregon Department of Energy's website, oregon.gov/energy. And a few words about using WebEx. You can raise your hand function to ask a question and use the chat function to type questions. And for those on phone, you can also use the *3 to raise your hand as well. If there's any questions about using WebEx before we begin, either you can try raising your hand or popping them in the chat, and we'd be happy to help out. Otherwise, this hearing is being recorded to maintain a permanent record. Today is January 31st, 2024. The time is approximately 3:09. The public hearing is being held online and all attendees are participating remotely. This is the time and date set for a public hearing, a public rulemaking hearing. The purpose is to take public comments on proposed permanent rules, which would amend the Oregon Rental Home Heat Pump Program. The filing caption for this rulemaking is Oregon Rental Home Heat Pump Program Amendments. So a brief summary of the proposed amendments to the rules. In the 2023 legislative session, House Bill 3409 amended the program language describing the household income criteria in the section about the program fund and its uses, changing one of the reserved funding allocations from dwellings occupied by households whose income is less than 80% of the area median income to dwellings occupied by low or moderate income households. We are changing the language in the section of the administrative rules that refers to the allocation of program funds and specifically the use of the funds to align with those recent legislative changes. One of the requirements for becoming an approved contractor is having no violations with the Occupational Safety and Health Division during the past 2 years. One of the draft rule amendments is to allow contractors who've complied with Occupational Safety and Health Division requirements regarding abatement of any violations and payment of any fines to then become an approved contractor. Currently, a contractor must submit details about the methods they use to appropriately size the heat pump for the structure or space, as well as the calculated heating and cooling load. ODO then verifies that the heat pump is appropriately sized. The draft rule language would allow a contractor to attest that a heat pump is appropriately sized to the space or structure. They would still be required to submit sizing information that could be audited, but verification would not necessarily be required. Other amendments are being made to provide clarity to the rules and to more accurately describe who would be providing the low moderate income eligibility documentation for one of the Oregon Housing Community Services programs. So the Oregon Department of Energy appreciates information and feedback that stakeholders have provided through the rulemaking process. Notice for today's hearing was filed with the Oregon Secretary of State on December 21st, 2023, and published in the January 2024 Oregon Bulletin. This hearing will be conducted according to the Oregon Administrative Procedures Act, ORS Chapter 183, and the Attorney General's Model Rules. In addition to the opportunity to present oral comments this hearing, anyone may submit written comments by email or mail until 5 p.m. February 2nd, 2024, which is the close of the public comment period for everyone. Comments received after this date will not be reviewed or considered by the department unless the department decides to extend the public comment period for everyone. After the close of the comment period, the Oregon Department of Energy will review issues raised during the public comment period and prepare a hearing officer's report. And the Oregon Department of Energy will make the ultimate decision regarding these rules. If anyone has joined since the beginning, I think we have had another attendee. Hasn't had the, I'll ask Patricia in a moment to unmute them. And if they would be able to state their name, their organization, and whether they wish to provide comments. So Patricia, could you unmute the call-in user number 3, please? You should be unmuted now.
Hello, this is Gretchen Houchin with Peak Ductless Heating and Cooling.
Hi, Gretchen. Are you wanting to provide testimony at today's hearing?
I don't think so. Mostly I was just hoping to listen in.
No, that's fine. That's great.
Would I have the opportunity later if I change my mind?
So we're just about to start getting into the testimony portion of the hearing. There'll be an opportunity to also ask general questions after that as well. And so I think we're just going to be coming into that opportunity to provide comments. You'll have an opportunity to ask questions after the kind of testimony portion is closed, and then you'll also be able to submit written comments up until 5 p.m. On Friday as well.
Great, thank you.
Okay. And if we could actually unmute Jeremy again, I just want to check in and see if Jeremy, you should be unmuted. Do you wish to provide comments at this stage?
The only comment I have is that the rule changes sound good to me. So I think well done, thanks.
Okay. Great. So this hearing is being recorded to maintain a permanent record. Before we begin, well, actually, it sounds like we're not wanting to provide testimony, but if there is any written comp statements, I'd ask them to be emailed so that it can be part of the record. And then are there any questions before we continue to go forwards? You can press *3 if you have questions. You can type comments in the chat. At the moment, this is kind of the public comment section right now. So we heard from Jeremy Anderson that had no additional comments beyond being supportive, I think. And then Gretchen, you sound like you didn't have any comments right now. If that changed, I just wanted to double check. You're happy, Gretchen?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. In that case, to thank everybody for attending and move. And thank you all for attending. And as a reminder, written testimony will be accepted until 5 p.m. on February 2nd, 2024. No other comments or exhibits will be accepted after this date, unless the department decides to extend the public comment period for everyone. After the close of the comment period, the department will review all comments and summarize all comments in a hearing officer's report. The Oregon Department of Energy will make the ultimate decision regarding these rules. And before we conclude today, I can answer any rulemaking questions, protest questions, or any other questions that people might have.
Looks like Jeremy has a question in the chat.
Yes. Is that one, Andrew, that you would prefer to answer?
Sure. The question is, do option 1 LMI applications like section 8 draw funds from the affordable housing provider funding or from the LMI funding? And all of the programs mentioned in option 1, aside from the one that we are changing in the rulemaking, are considered affordable housing. And then all of the programs in option 2 are considered LMI. Does that answer your question, Jeremy?
And we can unmute Jeremy if we can, Patricia, to see if he had any.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I think that answers the question. So more or less, I just want to confirm that funding is almost exhausted for anyone who's qualifying either from tax transcript or, public service, like social safety net program. So the option 2 and option 3, but there's still considerable funding left for the section 8, option 1 tenants. Is this correct?
Yes. Yep.
Perfect.
That is correct. As you can see on our webpage, and feel free to check it every week because it does change every week. But we're down to 63,000 for LMI. We still have over 2 million for affordable housing.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to confirm that.
Yep, no problem.
I'm going to just kind of give people an opportunity just for another minute or two, just to kind of see if any questions pop up. After that, I'll be closing the public hearing. I just want to give some additional time in case any further questions. Feel free to pop them in the chat. Raise your hand. Again, it's *3 if you're on the phone, or there's a raise a hand button as well on the WebEx application.
Looks like we have another question here from Gretchen. Is there a clearinghouse of affordable housing providers throughout Oregon? Well, I think a good resource is the OHCS website. Gretchen, what exactly are you looking for?
If it's easier, Patricia, if we could, yeah, thank you. Gretchen, we've unmuted you, so you're able to speak at the moment.
Thank you. I actually switched over to the website, so I'm going to try to hang up my phone. Sorry. I think I just had a similar question to the previous commenter, which is what exactly the affordable housing bucket, which still has funding or a lot of funding in it, are those folks kind of basically covered by the option 1? And I think you clarified that, but I was just wondering, how does one find out who are considered affordable housing providers?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it would be any of the programs administered by the Oregon Housing and Community Services. Typically, I would say the most common one for us is Section 8. But there are other groups that take advantage of the low-income housing tax credits, the Oregon Multifamily Energy Program, and that sort of thing. But I think, I don't know if you've had a chance to check out the OHCS website, but they do have a list of the properties that are participating in their programs.
I'm looking at it right now and trying to find that.
Kayla just put that in the chat, I think.
Yeah.
Oh,
And I can
fantastic.
send you I can just email you after the meeting the link. They have a spreadsheet.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm looking for that right now on the website. Why don't I go ahead and just email that to you after the meeting?
Fantastic. I guess this is not something I'm super familiar with, but I guess I'm going to assume that the housing providers are well aware that they are in this category. Would that be true?
I'm not sure.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyone else have any commentary on that?
We could see if they're on that list.
Yeah.
Okay.
What was the name of it?
Oh, well, I know there's one, I'm pretty sure there's one here in Corvallis. It's called Sparrow. Gosh, I think it's called Sparrow Housing, and it's a mobile home park that's managed by these folks, which I think are nonprofit. And so I think they do qualify. And I'm assuming that they would know if they qualified or not. I actually haven't tried
Yeah,
contacting
I see
them. I'm
them.
just,
They're on here. They're under Twin Oaks MHP, Sparrow Housing.
okay.
They're on here.
Okay.
So we can send you that list. It looks like there's like, I'm just kind of guessing, I'm not counting, but like probably 15 things in Benton.
Okay.
A lot of them are owned by Willamette Neighborhood Housing Services.
Okay.
Maybe
Interesting.
half of them.
Okay. So it sounds like those people would know that anyway, that they're on this list and
Yeah.
okay, and they would qualify for this the rebates under yeah. Okay. Thank you.
And Jeremy had a question about whether utility-funded weatherization assistance program would count. And it does need to be one of currently the way we're kind of able to verify the kind of the funding is through those programs listed in the chat. So it would be kind of the state programs as opposed to the weatherization, but we can take on those comments.
Yeah, am I unmuted?
Yes.
Yeah, so I guess it'd be really nice. So some of the utilities, especially the COUs, run their own weatherization assistance programs, generally with their own funding. And so they are income based, but they use each COU would use their own requirements on that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that'd be a really good source of potential projects so that we could make good use of this money. But I guess I'm unsure, like if it's, funded by Consumers Power or Salem Electric or Canby City Water and Light, if that would count as a weatherization assistance program or not.
In terms of weatherization assistance, that would be the state funded one. So it would be the Oregon Housing and Community Services weatherization assistance program.
Okay.
But it
I think I'm wondering, are you talking about that like new like lower utility rates program?
No, like say take for example Salem Electric. They have had an in-house weatherization program where they will provide enhanced incentives on top of the standard BPA funded incentives for their lower income customers. And so this is all done in-house. There's no, as I understand it, no federal or state funding on it. It's just paid out of their utility, out of their utility rates. And so it is a low-income weatherization assistance program, but it's probably not the ones that the rules had envisioned when they were being written.
Yeah, and so this is comments that the programs can certainly take in and look at. But at the moment, you're right that the rules allow for the Low-Income Weatherization Assistance Program administered by Oregon Housing Community Services.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess if one's looking for potential rule changes moving forward, that would be a great one to add. Since obviously it's been harder to find these projects than the non-income qualified or the other LMI projects, that would be a great source of really good projects.
And Jeremy, if you ever have a question, if you aren't totally sure if something qualifies, just feel free to email it over to us and we can confirm for you.
Yeah, will do.
Yeah.
And yeah, Patricia, if we could unmute Gretchen, that would be great.
Thank you. So I just wanted to comment about, I was looking over the rules again and about how they have the designated amounts for the LMI and the affordable housing. And something that I've discussed or mentioned kind of since the beginning of this program was that there's a little bit of a disconnect when you have a customer who actually has, or their tenant actually falls in the LMI category, but because we're doing such a small installation, or basically the total installation cost maxed out the $3,000 rebate, and then we didn't need to apply for or ask for any of the LMI funding. I'm not sure if that's the best way to describe it, but in other words, they basically were processed as a non-income qualifying project, when in reality, they were an income qualifying customer. So I just feel like some of the data, I guess, was skewed in a way, and that bucket might have gotten filled, the non-income qualifying bucket of funding got filled kind of preemptorily because of this. And I have wondered throughout, is there a way to sort of adjust that after the fact and identify some of those customers as truly being LMI customers or tenants to open up some of the funding in the non-income restricted bucket?
That is a great question.
I think that's a stumper. It's just,
Yeah.
it's just been a little bit of a shame to me to see that we, for just practical logistical reasons, said, hey, we're not going to go pester these people about their income level because we don't need that. They don't need that extra amount. They're already getting an essentially almost free system between the Energy Trust funding and the $3,000 just the regular funding. And so we didn't pursue the LMI funding, but that just took more funding from that bucket. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. Yeah, I don't think we're going to go back and retroactively change any of the categories for each reservation.
Yeah.
But that's something that we can consider in the future. Yeah, we would have to discuss the best way to do that. Obviously, we'll consider it since, this is a public comment, and that's something that you are concerned about. So,
Well, it's partially
Yeah.
something that I've wondered about moving forward into any sort of IRA funding. And I'm not sure how that's going to get administered, but if it's administered in any way similarly, then I
Mhm.
think that is an issue that would be nice if that could be addressed. If it could be a way to just designate, hey, these folks are in that category, and so they will take funding from the LMI bucket, as it were, as
Mhm.
opposed to the other one.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point, and we'll try to find we'll think about it, see if there's a way to do that.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you. And I have to
Sure.
hop off the meeting, but thank you. I appreciate the moment.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks for coming, Gretchen. Noted your comment in the chat, Jeremy. If there's no additional comments,
Jeremy did just second that last comment in the chat, just for what it's worth.
Okay. So the time is 3:35. Thank you for coming, providing comments, and this concludes the public hearing today. So thank you all for coming. We can finish the hearing.